This is Hilda Ward, and this is Artistic Expressions, and I'm so happy to have Jane Zimmerman on today. I'm really looking forward to have a conversation with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Hilda. I'm pretty excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Well, I have two of your books here, Talking Leaves and Talking Waters, and I had so much fun reading them. It was just amazing. And I have a lot of questions for you.
Great.
What made you decide to write about this or write for teenagers?
I've always wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
My original thought about writing thought it would be fun to bring Nancy Drew into the 21st century.
Goodness. Yes.
And I found out when I started researching that or looking into it, I found out that somebody had already done that. So I bought a few of the books and read them, and I thought that's not really what I had in mind.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe I'll just create my own characters and do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
It is loosely based on Nancy Drew. I wouldn't want to make any claims to.
Well, it's so funny because I have a question here that says, I said, it kind of reminded me of the Nancy Drew books when I was a teenager. Yes. And in fact, I have a couple of them still. And I loved reading Nancy Drew. So, and it didn't dawn on me until after I finished. I said, wait a minute, this is why I really connected with it. Yeah. And so the idea came from you wanted to change something and make it more modern, Nancy Drew.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't write Nancy Drew books anymore, and I thought that's a shame. I thought this series needs to continue.
Right.
It's a wonderful series. It's timeless. That is one of the things, one of the elements I wanted to include in my book was a certain timelessness. So you could read it today, you could read it 10 years from now, 50 years from now.
Right.
It wouldn't be dated as far as the type of cars people drove.
Right. Yeah, so that's great. I fell in love with the characters. I really did. Let's see, I kind of like the brother that works at Monticello. Dakota. I was kind of interested in him. I'd like to see him more. The twins. I had a problem with the twins. That was, I was like, okay, Hilda, you're not supposed to have an attitude about that.
Well, actually, you are supposed to have an attitude. That's what I wanted.
Good.
I wanted to show Dakota is for those who haven't read the books, Dakota is a history buff, and I remember so much that being a teenager is not always wonderful. It's sometimes challenging.
Yes.
You don't really, you want to be popular, you want to be cool, you want to be liked by everybody, and you want to be grown up, but you're not, and it's a transition, and it can be a difficult time, and I would like the readers to recognize the fact that you can love history and be a nerd.
Yes.
And still be you and still
Absolutely.
Be very cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Dakota. And of course he and his sister, their life was kind of sad in a sense that they didn't have their mom.
Yes.
And you could kind of feel that the dad still missed her. That's the sense I got when I was reading it.
Yes, that's also one of the elements in my writing is I like to show my young protagonists overcoming hardships or dealing with hardships.
Right.
It is very sad to lose a parent.
And they do have those.
Yes.
I taught high school, and being a health teacher, the kids would come to me, and they had a lot of stuff that they're dealing with. And they felt good about the fact that they could come and talk to me about it. So it's very important because the kids are carrying a lot of stuff. And we don't always know that, and we don't always reach out to them, So I'm glad you did that because it really made me connect to them even more.
And I like to show that their friends are supportive too. I like to show how friendship is central to my writing as well. I want to show young people how important friends are.
Right.
And try to do it without lecturing.
Yes.
Try to show them the difference between right and wrong, and that doing the right thing really is good without lecturing too much.
Yeah, because you got Audrey in there, and that was, I enjoyed her that friendship was really a good one, and yet she had lots of issues too, The thing that, one of the struggles I went through was, I think that you have a white deer, right?
Yes.
And where did that come from?
Like a lot of my writing, it comes from my personal experience. It comes from here in Central Virginia. We had an albino deer who visited us in our backyard almost daily.
Wow.
It was about 2 years ago, and we soon found out that there were 2 and then 3.
Wow.
And we haven't seen them for a while, but they really are magical creatures.
Yeah. It never dawned on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that mystery piece was very intriguing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I found it, and I hope I'm not revealing too much of the book, but I just wanted to share, that was really interesting for
Well,
me.
the albino's on the cover of that book, so I
Yeah.
don't think you're giving away too much.
Yeah,
think you're
it's
giving away too
it's I really enjoy I love your titles. And what made you choose Talking Leaves and Talking Waters?
Well, Talking Leaves, I like to include a bit of history in my books too. Talking Leaves is actually an expression that came from Sequoia, who was a Cherokee Indian.
Right.
The first book does touch on the history element, and that book is about Indians that were native to
Yes.
Central Virginia, but also the Cherokee and the Trail of Tears.
Right.
And Sequoia was one of the Indians who represented the Cherokee Nation, and he said that white men's words were like talking leaves because they were brittle and dry and blew away in the wind. So that's
Isn't that interesting? I have a friend who's Monacan. And
That's the
I'm
Indian
sorry,
tribe from-
Mattapanai.
Okay.
And she was, she gives me a lot of history. I think I have native blood also, but we didn't do much research on it. But I know that my father's family, I think, were Blackfoot. And then I worked with the Chickasaws one summer in 1984. It was an amazing experience.
Where are the Chickasaw? Where is
And
that
they
tribe?
were in Oklahoma,
Okay.
but they were part of the Trail of Tears. So that's how they got to Oklahoma.
We were, the area here in Central Virginia was not part of the Trail of Tears.
Right.
So there's a bit of, poetic
Yeah.
license in
Yes.
there too. I like to say, well, what if? Take a historical fact
Yes.
and say, here we have this, but what if it had been a little different?
Right. Yeah, well, I saw where you got that in there, and I was like, oh, this is fascinating. You got it all in there. I also saw where you connected Monticello,
Yes.
with Dakota having the job there, and I just thought, there's lots more that we can get from that. I know you're going to do this series. I know there's got to be
Yes.
another Talking Something coming.
Yes.
And that Monticello piece was very fascinating.
Well, I think the first book, Talking Leaves, was wonderful. Wonderful experience for me
Right.
to write it.
Right.
It's awesome to write a book. It's a lot of work. I'm very proud of it. I wouldn't say it's a literary masterpiece or anything like that.
I love
but
it.
I really am very proud of it. But I believe it also shows and reads as a first novel.
Yeah.
I think the second book is better. My writing style has improved. That may just be wishful thinking. But, I think I also found my niche in the second book, and that is to really focus on Central Virginia and the history here that
Right,
we have,
right.
like Jefferson. There's actually a lot of information available about him.
Yes.
So, and it is fascinating that it's on our doorstep.
Yeah. Well, when I first came here, it was hard for me. I had trouble thinking about going to Monticello because I have had experiences and dreams, and so I was kind of uncomfortable as to how I was going to react to my ancestors. And so it took me quite a while before I went to Monticello.
How did you feel when you went?
Well, see, I went with a group of African Americans. I thought, well, if I get nervous or I'm frantic, then at least I'll have some folks with me. And I loved it, and I was glad that I had my friends there with me because it helped me to, really look at it, yeah. But going to Monticello was a big experience for me. I was kind of uncomfortable at first, but it turned out to be a good experience.
I haven't tackled major issues like slavery in these books because that is really a huge issue. I do touch on it, and there are, it's I find it personally fascinating, but it's a big topic for a young reader.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And yet, I think they need to know about it.
Yes.
They need to think about it and decide what their feelings are, because it's tough. We're still dealing with it. We're still dealing
I
with it.
almost put a visit from Michelle Obama in there, that when Dakota was working at Monticello, that they closed the place down because Mrs. President was coming.
Yeah.
And I thought.
Yeah, I got to meet Michelle.
Did you?
When she came to UVA, and I was just so excited.
I can imagine.
To actually be able to shake her hand, It's like, oh my goodness, I'm shaking her hand. But yeah, that was wonderful. So it's the issue with Monticello. I'm sure there's going to be more of that in your next one. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, with Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, Thomas Jefferson. Because when you were when you alluded to it in the second book, I said, "Oh, there's a lot more here that we could deal with." So I'm sure you're going to have a lot more in there. And Dakota was I think it was pretty perfect that you chose him to be the one working at Monticello, because he really cares. He seems to. He seems to care,
He's the nerd who comes to the dinner table with facts about Thomas Jefferson, and did you know he died on the 4th of July? And he gets excited about that, and it's great. I think it's great to see young people be enthusiastic about anything, and I like to encourage that.
Right. And see, we have your book on the. Oh, yeah. So it's really, I loved the covers, and I loved the book. It was just incredible. How did you come up with these ideas?
It's mostly ideas that I get from my environment, from walking the dog and being outside, looking at our beautiful countryside, talking to my nieces. I have 2 nieces and a nephew, hence 2 girls and a boy characters.
Right.
And I get ideas from them about what would be fun. I think about things that I like, and then I take what I have experienced in everyday life, and I elaborate on it. I embellish it. I make it a little more interesting.
Oh, yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Hopefully a little more interesting.
Yeah, I wish I had that talent. I mean, I write poetry, but for me to think about writing a book with characters and the things that they do, it's wonderful, and I was so intrigued with it. Dakota's sister and the young man who lives, what's his name now?
Oh, Tommy?
Tommy, yeah. I kind of like that whole thing there.
I found out after writing the first book, I found out from my readers that there has to be a little bit of romance in there.
Yes.
Because that is what the kids want to read. So
yeah, no, it was great. It was very good because it was there, but it wasn't there.
Right.
And you kind of imagine it and you say, oh, well, this sounds nice, but you don't quite know for sure.
Right.
And that was intriguing for me because I think lots of times for a lot of teenagers, they'll feel uncomfortable because maybe they don't have a relationship.
Right.
Or they have somebody that they would like it to be more, So that was great that you did that. And it was like you were a teenager.
And that's been quite a while since I've been a teenager.
Yeah, but you remembered, because I remember when I was a teenager and I was like, oh my goodness.
That awkwardness.
Yes. Oh, well, I was like, I had to get all A's or else. And my friends didn't get A's. So I hated report card day. Because I had to bring home the A's. But then I got teased from my friends because I had all A's.
And see, you remember that. These are the things that I want to let young people know, that it's okay to get A's. It's okay to love history. It's okay to not get A's if you don't.
Exactly.
It's okay to be you.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm grateful now that I was forced to get the good grades, because I would have probably tried to be like my friends. But if I hadn't have gotten those A's, I wouldn't have gotten a scholarship,
Right.
because my mother couldn't afford to send me to nursing school. So I got a scholarship from the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Awesome.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Miss Parsons just didn't bother to tell them I was a little colored girl.
I think you've probably done very well within the system.
That's right.
Just playing by their rules, and
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, but I didn't realize the significance of that until I got older.
Right.
You know? But yeah, when you're a teenager, it's kind of hard, because you're not quite sure exactly what you want, what you feel,
Right.
and what other people are doing. And it's an awkward time. That's why I love teaching in high school.
It is an awkward time. And I remember it. I do remember it, and I wouldn't want to go through it again.
No. But I can identify with the kids when I go to the high schools and I talk to them. And even when I'm working at UVA with the college kids, especially the first years.
Right.
They're just fresh out of high school and they're brand new, they're away from home. It's very scary. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to behave. But in this book, you really intrigued me with the teenage piece and with the mystery, and to get those two together, I think that's quite a task.
Thank you. It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
planning it out, and I thought about all of the things that I like in books.
Right.
I love mysteries.
Yeah.
I like a little adventure or history, and then to weave it all together takes some creative thinking. I have to put a lot of miles
Right. Well,
behind me walking. That's where I think
how
when
many
I'm walking.
hours did you spend on writing?
Oh, I have no idea. I would say I can produce a book like that every year, and that includes the start to finish.
Right.
So
But do you have a set program, like how many hours you spend each day?
no, I don't. No.
Okay. Because so many writers will say, I write 3 hours a day. I think Maya Angelou told me, I remember she said that she would go into her library, into her little study first thing in the morning, and she would stay there for 3 hours, even if she didn't write.
Right.
She did that every single day.
And that would be wonderful if I could do that, or maybe I should do that. These days with the laptop, I carry it with me, and I have it here, and do I or don't I?
Right.
And I think I need to be more disciplined with it.
Well,
but it sort of comes in spurts.
Well, and the same thing with me with my poetry. I mean, my poems come anywhere. I can be on the bus, I could be on the plane, I could be walking, I could be... I even did a bunch of poems in church. The minister started his sermon, and next thing you know, I found myself writing a poem. So for me, I don't have a set time. I do have a set time with my journaling, though. That I do. But I was wondering, I said, when do you find time to get the words in? That's what I struggle with,
Yes.
Yeah.
I struggle with it too.
Right.
And at the moment, working on the next book, I'm not pleased with my progress. I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. I'm going to work
Well,
through this.
you have produced two wonderful stories,
continue.
and I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you. You mentioned the covers, Hilda.
Yes.
On the first cover, Talking Leaves, I'd
Yeah.
like to give credit to the young girl, Karis Fraser, who did this. She is now in graphic arts school
Oh.
down at Full Sail University in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And
This
she
is
did an
Talking
awesome
Leaves, right?
job, yes,
Yeah.
on
Oh,
that.
this is awesome.
And so busy with school, she couldn't do the second one, which I
Right.
was so sad.
Yeah, no,
and
this
the cover actually does not do justice to her artwork, because
Wonderful,
it was much better.
Wonderful, yeah.
What she produced was much better than what ended up being on the cover
Right.
due to technical
And what about the
difficulties.
second book?
The second one was an internet company, and I was just pleased with it. I
right.
just said, this is what I would like,
Yeah.
and gave them the details and put the albino deer on the back and That was it.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful.
Because the
I see
albino
that.
was part of it.
Oh, the albino. That's right. I forgot about that.
And that looks so much like Central Virginia,
Yes, it does. This is awesome.
the landscape on that.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one. When do you think the next one will be out?
I'd like to have it out by spring. I was fortunate enough this spring to travel with my niece to Italy. So I want to use that material while it's still fresh in my mind. And in these books, Dakota always talks with his hands, and his mother used to call it talking Italian.
So that might be the title, huh? Oh, I'm looking forward to it. But they kept me. Sometimes you read a book and you can put it down and you forget about it. But every night I got to get back to the book. I got to get back to the book. So
thank you. I'm flattered.
I really, really enjoyed them. And like I said, I can't wait for the next one. And I'm so glad we got a chance to meet each other at the book festival.
That was wonderful.
Yes.
That's a great event.
It's very, very good. I'm on the steering committee, and I have to thank Nikki Giovanni for that. We met, and she said, "You should get on the steering committee." I thought, okay, but I go to the festival every single year.
Right.
And I always say I'm not going to write. I'm not going to buy any books. Well, I bought 14 books, and last year I bought 14 books. Every year I'm not going to buy any books.
I know. This was the first year I went as a vendor, and it was really interesting. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go every year, even just as a guest.
Yes, well, that's what I do. I enjoy it. And the thing is, I love, having the books. I have a friend who now has a Nook, and she's saying to me, "You should get a Nook." I said, "No, I need the feel of the book. I like that feel."
I think there's room for both.
Oh, absolutely.
I think some
I'm
people
sure.
can, the Nook is great, or Kindle or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, I don't have that electronic device, but I could imagine having one, and then after I read it, say, I think I'll get the book now.
Oh, that's
because
true.
it's less expensive to get the electronic version, and then say, but I really like it, I want that book.
Yeah, no, that's true. You're
So.
probably right. It's just that I just love to hold the book and turn the pages.
Right.
And I guess, it's just like having to get used to the computer. It took me a while to get used to the computer. So it's just, I'm used to books.
Right.
But these, I had so much fun with them, and like I said, I'm looking forward to your next one.
Oh, thank you.
And so when you came this time as a vendor, what was different for you?
It wasn't as much fun. It was more like work.
Okay.
But to go as a guest, and that's nothing against the festival.
No,
of
I
the book.
understand. No.
I just meant for me, I like to go and look
And just-
around
yeah,
and browse, and
yeah.
I'd rather be the one buying the books than trying to sell them.
Exactly.
I guess it's not so easy for me to go out there and try to say, buy my book.
No, I understand.
Even though I'm very
the same
proud
way.
of them, I'm not a pushy salesperson. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
here are my books. If you would like them, buy them. Great.
Yeah.
If not, that's fine too.
Right, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Well, this, our half hour is almost up.
Okay.
And
you told me it would go quickly.
See, I told you. And it's, we're just having a conversation. And I'm just so glad that we were able to have you on the show. And I'm looking forward to your next one.
Thank you.
And the next one, and the next one. Because this has got to be a series.
It does have to be.
So
yes.
you got to go through all nature, huh?
Well, thank you, Hilda.
Oh, this has been wonderful. And how can people get in touch with you?
You could reach me through my website, which is patchespublishing.com. There's a contact page there, and I do love to get emails from my readers. My books are also available on Amazon, on my website. They're everywhere.
Oh, good,
So,
good. Excellent.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. So, I went on your website and, just to check it out. But, this was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed your characters. I could really connect with each one of them in a different way.
I feel like they're my friends.
Yes.
They're with me. They're with me all the time. And
Yeah. And I got that feeling. It wasn't like you was stressing to get them across. I mean, they were very, very believable.
Right.
And as I said, I connected mostly with Dakota. because I had to get those good grades, you know.
Well, they're all different. Each
Yeah. Oh, and they were
character's
wonderful.
different,
I
so-
loved Audrey because, you know, she loves to dress and she just loved all that stuff. And then Erin was just a regular girl, you know. But they're all what we see in teenagers, you know. And of course the twins, they were interesting. But you got them all in there, that's really what's so wonderful.
And the dogs, too.
Oh,
Lots of
absolutely! I
dogs.
forgot about the dogs.
Right.
Oh, yes, I forgot about the dogs.
That's okay.
Yeah,
They're in
couple,
there.
couple of. Let's see, you had Dakota and Erin had a dog, right?
Yes, they have Sadie.
Yes, and then
Audrey has Patches.
Audrey has Patches. That's right. Yeah, but the two dogs got along
Yes.
well. Yeah. So it's good. It was really good, and you know, this was a good experience, and I'm glad you were able to come.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this was awesome, and I wish you well with the next one.
Thank you. I'll be sure to get you a copy. As soon as it'll be
yes.
hot off the press.
I can't wait. Whatever I'm reading will get put down because I have to see what happens to the characters because I've gotten to know them. Well, that's what I used to do with Nancy Drew. You know, when I was reading Nancy Drew, you couldn't take me away from that.
That's the way I was with Harry Potter. I was
Oh,
like,
really? Now I couldn't get into Harry Potter.
I was like, okay, door's closed.
Well, the kids seem to like Harry Potter. You know, I have a great granddaughter who loves Harry Potter. Yeah. Okay, so we have 1 minute. That's it. We're
Okay,
through.
great.
So you did well. See.
Okay.
And it was nice having you on the show.
It was wonderful. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to be. I love talking about my books.
Right.
And one of the things we talked about before the show started is that this genre is so wonderful because it's for young readers, but people of any age can read it.
Yeah, and
is
that's what
really
I loved
nice.
about it. And it was a new thing for me. It made me see that I could read this genre.
They're fun. They're easy reading for an adult reader.
Yeah. And you can connect and think about what it was like for you. And I found myself wishing that I could have had some of these adventures, you know. Yeah, so it was wonderful. It was great. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent.